Good evening. Thank you for tuning in to the Lyne't Gray Show. This is Lyne't Gray. Today is Tuesday, April 17th, 2018. I'm going to go ahead and call out my call letters, KUAW, Knowledge, Understanding, and Wisdom, Kansas City's global community radio station. Our email address is kuaw985@gmail.com. Our telephone number is 816-599-6893. Our website is kuaw.org, and you are watching us on Facebook at KUAW-LPFM985. You can also tune in on the Tunein app if you want to listen. You all are going to see me messing with my phone because I'm making sure that at the beginning I'm inviting people, because everyone's like, you didn't invite me to the Facebook Live video. So I'm inviting everybody at the beginning. And if you call in and you see me messing with my phone, I'm not ignoring you. Today is a heavy day for me, y'all. My dad passed away 20 years ago on today. But then I had, on top of just getting over the day that I had convinced myself that my sister was okay and she's going to be fine. Because as you all know, my sister, God called her home on the 30th of March. I get a call and my daughter's crying really heavily. And I ask her what's wrong, and she's crying and she's screaming, and she goes, Mama, Kendrea's dead. And I said, oh my God. And I was like, what happened? You know, I'm thinking, because we work together at UPS, I'm thinking it's an accident at work or a car accident. And she told me that this amazing young woman, Kendrea Brown, amazing, a light. She was a true light, had been shot in her bed sleeping. This goes to the very heart of the reason why I'm doing this radio, because we should not be losing our young people to senseless violence. This shouldn't happen. And no matter who we want to place the blame on, no matter who we want to say it's the kid's parents' fault or it's this or it's that, it's our fault as a community that we lost to Kendrea Brown. It's our fault as a community that we lost to Samir Clark. And a lot of y'all don't remember Samir Clark, but he was another one of my daughter's classmates, and he graduated, I think, the class before her. And he was shot in the neck, saving some children from a domestic violence incident with a woman. The man was beating the woman, and she went and asked for help. And he was rushing the children to the back of the apartment, and the man shot in the apartment and shot him in the neck. This makes my heart heavy. And I love my daddy, and my daddy knows I love him, but my daddy loved children. And he loved making sure that children were safe and were okay and, you know, had great lives, and they knew that they were loved. And this hurts. And the family is with our close friends. They're doing something special right now as we speak. It's probably ending right now. And I wanted to go to it, but I knew I would have to come on the radio. And I knew that my heart was going to be extremely heavy because I'd just gotten over grief, and grief set right back down on me. I want to ask everyone, every single person within the sound of my voice, to please invite other people to this video, because we're going to fix this. And we as a people, we have no other choice but to fix it. I don't care what your race is. I don't care what your class is. I don't care any of that. Because while everybody's thinking they're better than somebody, it can happen to your children. And Miss Brown works tirelessly with babies. So it was never she thought she was better than anyone. It's just the fact that there are young people out here who didn't receive enough love, or who don't love themselves enough for some reason, that they feel the need to shoot into someone else's house. And here's my thing, and this is y'all gonna have to excuse Lyne't, but this is the hood side coming out of me, because I grew up in a real rough neighborhood. My neighborhood was the first neighborhood that crack landed in Kansas City. We saw the gangs, the Crips, and the Bloods before everybody else saw them. So we kind of we saw the Crips, we didn't see the Bloods, but we were hardened from a young age. But one thing I will say is these kids are crying out for attention, help, some of that. And the reason why I say this is because when we were growing up, If you did some dirt, you didn't run from it. You let the police come get you. Those guys had if you go out to Forest Lawn or whatever that is on Truce, they have some of the more elaborate headstones you ever want to see, because they knew what came of this life. They knew that the police were after them, so they kept lawyers on retainer. This right here is a group of kids who are trying to make a name for themselves because for some reason they're unloved. You can't tell me that these guys and girls who are running around here shooting, acting a fool, doing whatever, they don't have aunts, they don't have uncles, they don't have somebody connected with a church or a religious organization or any of that. We can't come together to save our young people. We can't come together to save our own children, because remember, these same people walk the same streets as your children, as your parents, as your family members. This right here, y'all, this hurts me so bad. I almost didn't come in today, but I was like, you know what? It's something to be said, because this grief is heavy and it's strong with me right now. And because she and my daughter are one and the same. They both are the same age. They both are college educated. They both work their behinds off. They both are not married, don't have any children. And I look up and someone who's doing what she can to live her life the best way that she knows how. And then to leave others, when she encounters you, she leaves you with a smile on your face. Nobody will dispute that. Nobody. Everybody will tell you she had the most bright, beautiful smile. And if you saw Kendra with kind of a frown on her face, that's because I asked her one day, I said, what's wrong? She said, nothing. I said, why are you looking so mean? We were at work at UPS. I worked in feeders and she worked in a warehouse. And I said, why are you looking so mean? And she said, oh, I was just thinking about something. And she was like, I was trying to figure out what I'm going to do when I come back from break and blah, blah, blah. Because she was working on a trailer at that point in time. So I guess she was trying to figure out how she wanted to attack that trailer when she got back. But that's the only time you will see her with a serious look on her face. And I learned that when I saw her with that look, she was focusing on something. So today we're going to do this show, and I'm going to call out the telephone number again because I want people to call in. And I'm serious because we're going to pull together some answers. I've been meeting with people all week long. God has been placing me in the presence of some amazing people with some amazing ideas and some amazing programs that they're trying to get implemented that they've pretty much already got the funding for. The telephone number is 816-599-6893. And I want you all to call in and let me know about any program that you have. I need somebody. This is on this one, you know, everybody might get mad at me, but I need my OGs. I need my OGs to call me because y'all know, we know what it took to pull kids that kind of grew up rough, that had a rough life, that had it hard. I know what it took for an older woman to capture me. She had to have a little bit of edge about her. I had to be able to see that she's been through some things. If she walked up to me, and this is no diss to the women who have never been through anything, but if you walked up to me and you were, you know, real, I don't know how to put it, real docile, you had a real softness to you, I would listen, but I would be like, she don't understand me. And so now I'm calling out, you know, I see a bunch of our OGs and they've grown older. They got their families, kids. Some have grandkids. Some are just now having kids. And y'all done forgot where y'all came from. The women, you done forgot where you came from. We have kids out here. And just like we were there, we have kids out here. We have way far more children out here who are going through what we went through. We were one in very few. Now it's huge only because you have parents who are so focused on their lives and not on their children. That's what's going on. And I need people who've been there, who knows what pulled them off the streets. What we need to do right now is we need to encourage our young people. I've had 2 young men in my family who've been shot. within the last 30 days. 2. This has got to stop. What is it about this life? But see, I know what it is about this life that's pulling them in deeper. They don't have options. I talked to many of people who were young teenagers during the civil rights riots or civil rights era after Martin Luther King died, and they began rioting. And the answer for the government to keep our young Black people from getting into trouble, from getting into issues, the answer was to give them jobs, give them something to do. Right now, I know for a fact, and there's one job, and I will not call that job out, but there's a job that literally only hires kids whose parents, kids who behave in a manner that they have loving parents around them. So somebody like me would have never gotten a job at this location. And I can understand why, because it's a public location and they want people to feel comfortable and safe. But what do we have to do in order to pull these kids off of the street? In order to stop them from getting shot up? In order to, I'm hurting y'all. So I can only talk from my experience as a child. I can talk from growing up as a young lady, and my Uncle Red went and got me from my house that I was living in, and there was nobody there but me. And I've been living like that since I was 10. Uncle Red showed up when I was almost 12. I can only speak from the young lady who everybody who went to Wendell Phillips will tell you looked like I was neglected. I can only speak from that. I know the anger I had because, and I'm going to tell y'all, the anger that I had was because I would see kids who looked like they were loved. And I would feel it would hurt me so bad. And I didn't realize that I was taking it out on those kids. But the kids, and Sophia, you said these kids don't want jobs. I promise you I can walk up to several of them and they'll tell me, if you can give me a good paying job, I'll take it. I can promise you that they want these jobs. The problem is everybody wants to throw them crumbs when they've been making good money standing on the street or walking up, running somebody's pockets or running them for their jewelry. Nobody wants to be in this life. Nobody does. They want to be able to have nice things. Here's the thing, and this is what I'm going to say. There's an apprenticeship program. If someone can pull it up right now, I would greatly appreciate it. They have an apprenticeship program where you don't have to go to college in order to get into the union. It takes you 4 to 5 years to become a journeyman. But they start you out with great pay and benefits. If you look at our apprenticeships, they are lacking inner city children. They are lacking our Black children and our Mexican children. They are lacking those faces. Now, when they get on the job, yes, they're going to have to deal with some bigots who don't want them making that kind of money. Oh, well, that one little idiot ain't going to stop no show, and it's not going to stop them from lining their pockets. Because when it's over said and done with, the plumbers, the welders make $80-something an hour. The plumbers make $60 to $80-something an hour. The sheet metal workers make $30 to $60 an hour. These guys, when they are 21, 22, 23, 24, 25 years old, they will be bringing in more money than majority of us adults. The problem is we get this information, we don't pass it on to the kids. We don't walk around with cards in our pocket and tell them, call this person. We do not. People can say what these kids don't want, but if you'd have known me when I was younger, you'd have said the same thing. And I did, but it's a mental thing. You have mamas that put men over their children. Let's be serious about this. These kids have 3-4 stepdaddies that they've known in the last 5-6 years. You have parents and dads who put their children off for women, and nobody seems to say, okay, what about the children? What about the children? You can have a whole entire community surrounding you, and you can have people who want good for you. But if your parents make you feel like you're nothing, you feel like you're nothing. This upsets me because I can promise you this one thing. Those young men who pulled the trigger, look at their home life. Look at their mamas and their daddies. Look at them. Thank you so much, Sophia. She said the program is done by Ramon Holt, and his number is 816-595-4145. This is the apprenticeship program, the union apprenticeship program. I want everybody to write this number down, 816-595-4145. And I had it on my page, but I didn't, I couldn't find where it was while I was scrolling, and I didn't want to log off because I wanted to see you all's comments. But I'm going to call y'all on it because in Kansas City, they can call out a two-step contest. They can call out a comedy show. They can call out a concert. They can call out a car show. And every parent will go get a new outfit. You will go get your hair done. You will go get your nails done. Everybody be suited and booted from the head to the feet. And you will go see those same people that you saw at the last event. Where are your kids? Where are your kids? I'm going to tell you something that my grandmother told me, and my daughter's grandmother told me. They said, them kids didn't ask to be here. And God judges you by how you do his babies. So I'm calling out everybody now within the sound of my voice because I'm angry. If you sit your behind up in the church, if you sit your behind up in a mosque, if you sit your behind up in the temple, if you sit your behind up there and judge those people who sit up in there, if you sit your behind up at home and say you don't believe in none of that, but you don't put the children first, you know where you're going. And everybody can get mad at me, and I don't have to have any more listeners after tonight. But I promise you this one thing. If we do not step up for the children whose parents don't give a dang and got them in the streets, if we don't step up for those children whose parents put other adults before them, and those other trash adults don't hold that parent accountable for being in their children's life, it puts our children in danger. It gives us kids like Samir Clark. It gives us kids like Kendrea. And I call them children because I've known them since they were babies. I watched them grow into amazing adults. I watched them do everything right and have their lives snatched by young people whose parents, you probably could find a parent at every single club, every single function, all up in the street in everybody's face being loud, probably had, like I'm gonna keep saying it and everybody can get mad at me, probably had 3-4 different spouses within the last 5 years. And I call them spouses because if you laid up with them, you're married to them. They up in the house with your kids, but don't treat your kids like they're theirs. Ain't no way in the world. It upsets me. Miss Brown shouldn't be burying Kendrea. She shouldn't be. She did everything right with her. She was there. And everybody who wants to say, oh, well, that ain't my children. I heard somebody, and this upset me. Somebody made it seem like it would never be theirs. You could not get a more upstanding 2 young people that I just named. And the person who made it seem like it would never be theirs is the one whose kids could not compare to Kendrea or Samir. Could not compare. And this child went to a suburban school. And when I got to naming off both of their qualities, She sat back and shut up and was quiet. So how can it be these two great children, young adults? I'm sorry, y'all. I keep calling them children because I see them as babies. They were babies with my baby. They did everything right. And the reason why I'm bringing Samir back up, because everybody seems to have forgotten that a life of an amazing young black man was stolen. The life of Kendrea Brown was stolen. And I'm tired of begging the people in these underprivileged urban core. I hate that word, because as soon as a bunch of white folk move in here, it's no longer the urban core. But I'm tired of begging people to help our children. If you were in any kind of way, what motivates Lyne't to help the children is because I know Lyne't could have been behind prison doors. God gave me an opportunity to be out here for a reason, to catch other little Lyne'ts. I was at my friend Merle's house, and I watched as Merle's daughter walked through, and then Lyne't walked through the door. And Merle will tell you, and her daughter will tell you, and her friend will tell you, I told the little girl about herself. I told her exactly how she was. I was like, you ain't no talker. You'll let somebody talk, and the next thing they know, yeah. But that was my life. I used to pride myself on the fact that I wasn't in all of Kansas City's precincts. I just broke that record, y'all. I'm just gonna say that. But hey, that's what, you know, that's another story for another day. But this has to be something that we are upset about. This has to be something everybody within the sound of my voice in your city, this needs to be a movement. This has to stop. We complain about the police mistreating us, which we should, because they are authority figures. But what about us mistreating us? Everybody within the sound of my voice, remember this. Those of you who believe in a God, in a higher creation, he's going to hold us accountable for these kids. It's our doing. We are the only generation that did not guide our kids in a positive and right direction. We got ours, now they can get theirs. Oh, we can floss. I'm so not impressed. And everybody will tell y'all, I got a nice 300 sitting in my garage. I drive a beat up Toyota, and I have Big Red Fred. But I drive around, I see everybody in their nice cars sitting on these rims, this, that, and the other. But when people put on programs for these kids, you can't go do it because you got to go to work. Why? So you can pay for that overpriced car that they done sold you, because you ain't got no 0% or 1%. I'm pretty sure your interest rate, unless you've been on your job for 20 years and got over a 750 credit score, your interest rate is nowhere near up under a 5% on a car. But you want to impress people, but you don't think I don't see how people don't find it important to impress people via your children. That's what I believe in. I believe in helping the young people and impressing people via the children. When I can say, Desmond D. Professor Mason is my son, and I call him my son, he's my bonus son. When I can say George Fuller, Mr. Fuller, the teacher over at KCNA and who came from Benjamin Banneker, is my son, that is my bonus son. When I can say that Jaquita Gray is my daughter, Jock Adam Gray is my son, Jock Arthur Smith is my son, Anwar Smith, Sebastian Smith, and Aiden Smith, it gives me much pride to be able to call out my children. And then my bonus children who reach into my inbox and say, Mama, I have this issue. What do you think about this? Mama, can you help me? There's a young man, and I have to, hopefully he's listening. His name is Shaquille Avery. That's my bonus son. That's my oldest son's brother. That's my baby. He just started his own barbershop. And I told him to reach out to me, so he didn't give me the information to call him out. He's 21, y'all. He's doing something positive. We have to get a hold of these other kids in order to keep safe the children who are doing something positive. These other kids want to do something positive. They do. Believe me, they do. Because if they didn't, Shay, that's my baby. Yes, like Shay. And Shay was a lot like me. Shay will tear it down. Shay Rowland. And I have seen her grow so much. And she's grown into a beautiful and amazing young lady. And I've known Shay. Shay comment for me. I think I've known her since 5th grade, Since she was in 5th grade. I'm not sure. Let me know, Shay. But we tend to categorize our babies. Now it's time up for the global community. Global community. I want everybody within the sound of my voice. The global community. We got to come up with answers. Because while everybody running around talking about 45, this president, all them people in Congress, we can still view that and we can still talk about that and we can still share that. They got theirs. We losing kids. And when I tell y'all we losing our babies, we're not even losing the ones that chose this life. Like I tell some mothers, and some people, I'm going to get mad at this comment. My son chose to go to the Army. On 9/11, I looked at my son when he wanted to be a Marine, and he was a little baby. This has been since the womb. And I told him, you're not going to the military because I'm not going to let you die for this country. And when I told him that, it messed up his purpose. And he began to act up in school. But then when I got sick of him, when he was like 16 years old, and I told him, I said, guess what, homie? You going to the military. He straightened back out. And he started walking in his purpose. Now, here's the conclusion that I had to come to as a mother. And this is a hard pill to swallow. My son chose to die. When he said that he swears to uphold and protect the Constitution of the United States, my baby chose to die. Now, mothers out here who you think is cute that your sons are on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, throwing up these gang signs, holding up their guns, your son chose to die. So there's no need in crying when somebody guns one of them down. There's no need in being upset and everybody being up in arms because that is what they chose. They have chosen that life. But how do you get him to steer away from that? How many of y'all know our warriors in the street are actually our warriors that are supposed to be in the military? But we got so many people talking crazy. Oh, you don't want to join that white man's army. You don't want to do this, that, and the other. Get off of it. Because I had a mother tell me when I was telling her about my son being in the army and I didn't really want him there. She said, at least your son is going to die when he gets buried. He gets buried with honors. They're going to celebrate him. They're going to play taps for him. You get a flag. She said, when my son died, all I got was T-shirts and tears. He died for nothing. So all of y'all who got nieces, nephews, cousins, sons, daughters, and they out here gang banging and y'all think that stuff is cute, remember, when they've already picked where they want to go. Because we were raised to know when you out here, you thugging and you OGing and all that stuff, there's only one way out, and that's death. You don't even get out in jail. You got to rep that stuff in jail. So where do we fix this? I'm really upset. But where do we fix this? How do we fix this? Y'all can think it's cute if you want to. I tell my sons all day long, when you take a picture, you ain't going to take no picture throwing up nothing. My son was walking around and he had this black bandana that he was hanging out his pocket. I said, oh, so you BGD now? He said, what? I said, you BGD, Black Gangster Disciple? He said, no. I said, well, take that flag out your pocket. See, we get older, and those of y'all who didn't grow up in this way, you think because you take your kids somewhere and raise them the way you were raised that they're safe. They are not safe. They're not safe. Because they're going to come back because they think it's cool to be like that. I'm going to call off my number, 816-599-6893. I need to calm down a little bit, y'all. So I'm going to ask Mr. Walker, can we go on ahead and take a break? And I'm going to go on ahead and calm down for a little bit. Call in with your comments, 816-599-6893. Mhm. And we're back. Thank you for tuning in to the Lyne't Gray Show on KUAW, Knowledge, Understanding, and Wisdom, KC's global community radio station. I'm going to give you our call letters, KUAW. Our email is KUAW985@gmail.com. Our phone number is 816-599-6893. We're on the web at KUAW.org. On Facebook at KUAW-LPFM985. And you can tune in on the Tunein App. I want to thank you all for clicking in and for watching this. I'm going to address some of the comments that have been made. I'm sorry, y'all. I had to take a break just to calm down because my heart is broken. My heart is broken. I never in a million years would have thought that, and I don't mean to say it like this, y'all. But I would be able to handle it if they said a car wreck or an accident at UPS or, something physical. I would still be hurting and I would still be grieving. I would still be hurting. I would still be grieving. But to know that Kendrea's life was stolen from her, from some young dudes or girls, you don't know who it was, who decided they wanted to shoot up a house. If you shot up the house, you know who's in there. You know there are children in that house. So you intended on murdering children. You intended on that. Who raised these people? These are monsters. And I'm going to call it how I see it. And y'all can get mad if y'all want to. These are monsters. But the only thing that can raise a monster is something that don't care themselves. I look up and I see, I'm gonna call it out because a whole bunch of people about to be mad at me. When we get these MAP test scores, it tells whose parents care and whose parents don't. When you look at the education level of these children, and you got schools where nobody scored proficient or advanced, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. You using the school as a babysitter because you're not trying to work with your kids. Because I'm going to tell you this, Lyne't got all kind of awards stretched across in boxes. People would tell you when they came in my house, my kids had, when I was with my ex-husband who lives on 69th and Paseo, that's where I lived before I left. That's how I know Kendrea. I watched her grow up. We had medals stretched across, medals and trophies stretched across our mantle. And very few of them were for athletics. Majority of them were for academics. We are purposely putting our children in this position. I talked with someone at this place called So Pro Gaming. My sons go to So Pro Gaming. And they play advanced games. And the owner of the game, he said, not every kid is meant to play sports. But every time you turn around and something opens up in our community, it's sports. I'm sitting right here with Mr. Walker. He runs the robotics here at W.E.B. Du Bois Learning Center. I bet you he don't have a waiting list. I put money on it. Mr. Walker, I know you don't have a waiting list. No, he don't. He should have a waiting list to get into this program. But he doesn't. But everybody want to talk about my kid that graduated. Your kid dumb. And y'all can be mad at me if you want to. What was their ACT score? See, I'm going to call everybody out because I know what can be done with our children. And if you get these kids educated and you get them to knowing, everybody on Facebook arguing about who's white, who's black, who's Hebrew, who's all of that. Well, I'm going to tell y'all this one thing. Wendell Phillips was the very first African-centered school in the Kansas City, Missouri School District. They were just not acknowledged for it. They made sure we knew who we were. Mr. Gant made sure that we sang the Black National Anthem along with the Star Spangled Banner. He made sure that we sang Whitney Houston's I Believe the Children of Our Future. A lot of people didn't like that man. But if you look back now that you've grown and look at what he taught us, he and Horace Peterson, the man over the Black Archives. And it's a shame. I went down to the Black Archives to show my son the Ku Klux Klan hood and robe, and they talking about it's archived and put away. But that's what our community does. We let things that are important that teaches us, we let that stuff go to the wayside. We don't care. We don't go down there and make sure whoever's running the Black Archives. Mr. Peterson I went to Wendell Phillips, and anybody who went to Wendell Phillips with me who went down there, they will tell you Mr. Peterson didn't even charge us. We just walk in. As long as we sign the book. And we walk in and we look at the slave cabin there. And he would remind us and tell us about where we came from. And we go down to J.D. Johnson when he was still alive, and he would give us free drinks out the soda fountain. Y'all can't tell me. I know what it's like. I tell people the story that traumatized me so bad. First time I ever saw somebody shot, I think the man is dead. I'm not sure. But they were down on Vine. And I drove my bike down on Vine. I lived on 25th and Woodland. And I drove my bike down on Vine to this little gas station that was ran down. And there were two drunk men down there arguing about whether or not Jesus was black. And one of them said, you so-and-so, you ain't going to tell me Jesus was white. He pulled out a gun and shot that man right there in my face. And I'm shaking while this man is fixing my bike. And he said, you're going to have to learn how to fix this yourself. And I said, yes, sir. And after that, I learned how to fix it myself. But that's what I grew up seeing. I grew up when crack first hit the streets, and they had grown men chasing us little girls to school, trying to rape us. I grew up when the Crips first came around, and they were not this fake stuff that y'all doing. They were shooting and killing people for wearing red. Innocent people. Growing up and being desensitized like that, it took for a community of people to step in and break all of that curse that was on me. It didn't have to come down from my family. It came down from the community. I was desensitized. And then I believed that I was going to be nothing. So why bother? I had a teacher at Lincoln Prep. I slept through her class, her math class. She called me up there and asked me to do a problem. I got up, went to the board, did the problem, went back down and went to sleep. And she said, wait a minute, you went further than what I was already teaching. I said, I already know it. And I laid back down. She said, a mind is a terrible thing to waste. And then she treated me like crap. Instead of saying, little girl, come here. I hated it. I hated school. I wasn't getting love at home. You don't know what it takes for these kids to get up and go to school and face the day. But I see these mamas running around here. I done had you sitting in my chair, paying me $350 to throw a weave in your hair that you already bought $150 worth of hair for. You going to go see your dude? And to all of you men and women who got somebody laid up in your bed, but they can't make sure that your children are doing to the utmost of their abilities, and they are testing out of the water on everything. Because I'm going to tell y'all one thing I have learned, and you cannot convince me it's not the truth. Our black kids are so smart, they can become physicists and scientists before third grade. But we don't want to teach them. So therefore, we have young people out here who feel like they are such nothings. Nobody in your family give a dang on about you. I had an Uncle Red. I had an Auntie Jackie who wasn't going to let me sit over there and just rot. When you see the name Alicia Gavin on here, that's her mom and daddy. They came and got me while everybody else talked about my mama like a dog, and they was family with me. Your mama just letting you sit up in that house. She thinks she want to be a teenager. She don't want no kids. But instead of them running a mouth about her, they came and got me. What do we have to do? These kids running around here shooting up and killing up everything. They somebody's niece and nephew. They somebody's child. They somebody's grandchild. And y'all gonna quit putting everything on these grandparents. You had these kids, not the grandparents. The number again is 816-599-6893. Call in with however you feel. But I'm calling on some folks, some OGs, those who were like me. The girls who, even if you wasn't the kind that'll knuckle up and throw them things on somebody. If you was a girl who was out in the street who was hurting because of whatever happened and you were laying up with a bunch of guys, call in. Tell us how to fix that. I don't know that side. I took out my hurt in another way, beating everybody up and going to jail all the time. But we have to fix this. What stopped me from carrying a gun when I was younger was that I got pulled over by a police officer, and I didn't know you weren't supposed to let him search your car. And I had a gun. It was legal. It wasn't mine, but it was legal. And I had loaded in the chamber. I had a bullet in the chamber, but I had the safety on. And this officer asked me, he said, "Why did I find this in your car?" And I told him, I said, "Well, I have an ex-boyfriend whose little sisters threatened me. And it's going to be me or them. And it ain't going to be me." He looked at me and he told me, he said, "What I'm going to do is, I'm not even going to let you take this gun with you." He said, "I'm going to confiscate this gun." He said, "But you're not going to take this gun with you." And I'll never say who that officer is because this was before cameras. He said, "But I want you to know this one thing. This gun is going to lead you to your grave." When he said those words to me, y'all, I had a daughter at that time. I was 18. My daughter was a little under 1, about to be 1. It woke me up. These young men and young women out here getting into this mess, majority of them don't have kids. They've never felt that love that you get when you give birth. They didn't feel that love because they didn't get it from their parents. And my issue is, I'm going to say this. University Academy has middle school track meets, and we've talked about this before. And I've attended middle school track meets. And it's just 2 of us parents there. At least 20 kids. If your kid goes to UA and you haven't been to a track meet, you need to be ashamed of yourself. You part of the culture that's bringing the school down. If your kids go to UA and you have not been to a game supporting anybody, any of that, if your kids are in high school, if your grandkids and nieces and nephews are in high school, my daughter was the college coordinator, college rep for Central High School. And one of the boys who wound up in the news, she told me her heart was broke. And she told me, she said, "Mama," she said, "I was trying my best to convince him that he was perfect for college. She said, it hurts me to see that he done got arrested on some dumb stuff. She said, I almost had him. And then something pulled him back. And I said, now you see what pulled him back. That grown adult that was in his ear that was teaching him to do bad. Because that boy got arrested with a grown man and another teenage boy. I said, now you see what you were up against. But what mother allows people like that in her children's life, whether family or not? What father allows people like that in their children's life, whether family or not? I'll be doggone. It's not going to happen. We as people who are listening, and I now know I have listeners in Arizona, I have listeners in California, I have listeners in Texas, I have listeners in Denver, in Colorado and Denver, I have listeners on the East Coast, Florida, North Carolina, Virginia. I have listeners everywhere. I think when I tallied it up, when they were inboxing me, I have listeners in almost 30 states. And in all of these 30 states, they have urban core issues. What does it take? You know what it takes? It takes for those of us who made it out to start thinking, okay, I want my, these aren't even, the children who I work with are not even my children. They will tell you, they could call me Mama L, Mama Smith, Mama Gray, Mama Lyne't. What mama? What baby? What's going on? Well, I just need to tell you I'm having this problem. Okay, calm down and let's work through this. I had a young man tell me, he said, Mama, he said, I found out I got a baby on the way. He was like, and my friend told me if I start selling weed, this, that, and the other, blah, blah. I made him do the math on selling weed. And then I made him do the math on going down there and working an apprenticeship and going up to journeyman. And I said, now here's the problem. You go ahead and research selling weed. I want you to research it, however, upside down, learn how to breed the perfect product, because eventually Missouri is going to allow dispensaries and you're going to be a millionaire. But what you're not going to do is put yourself in any kind of legal trouble behind it, knowing that it's coming. So until then, you go on ahead and work, find whichever apprenticeship that you want to work, and you get in it and you work. And they're going to talk crazy to you. They're going to call you every N-word, monkey, any other kind of name they can think of in the book, because they want their nephews to have your spot. But guess what, baby? You hold on no matter what. That baby, this was 3 years ago. That baby literally texted me his paycheck. He said, Mama, check this out. And I was so excited. I jumped for joy and called him because that baby's 1 week paycheck was up in the $800 a week. And he was like, I was about to be selling weed, putting my life on the line, doing this, that, and the other. And look what I'm making. He's only 21. He's got one more year, I think one more year for his journeyman. Child taken care of. He said, and I asked my baby mama to not put me on child support, and I get her what she wants. She got a brand new car, and I pay her apartment. We have to, everybody's saying they don't want to work. They do. They want nice things. That's the reason why they out here selling drugs and doing dumb stuff. They want the nice cars. They wanted to have the blingy. I told her, and this is what I tell all young people. Tech-Nine's Auntie Ivy used to be one of my fashion customers. She used to come in and buy clothes specifically from me, and this was before I got pregnant with my daughter. And Ivy told me, and I pass this on to every young person who I talk to. I tell them, I say, don't be in a rush to have kids. Ivy told me, she said, don't have kids, because when you have kids, your money is no longer yours. And you see all these cute clothes you wearing? You got to split that money with your child. And majority of the time, they get the cute clothes because they come first. And she told me, she said, and then when she came back and I was pregnant and I was ashamed to talk to her, and she was standing there with her then boyfriend, and she was like, baby, it's not a bad thing. She said, just make sure your child comes first. And we went on, this was back in 1992 going into 93. And she made me not ashamed of my child. The problem is so many of these women, we tend to put it's the young girls, babies having babies. I'll put, this was right here you looking at was a baby who had a baby, and I'll put my babies, all of my teenage babies up against anybody's kid. And I promise you, if they don't match them, y'all will walk away and be like, oh yeah, you did a good job. But why did I do a good job? Because a community of women said, this is how you be a mother. When I knew I couldn't be a good mother because of the example I had. My daughter's grandmother, Jean Ross, was like, no, ma'am. No, I don't want your kid. I done raised mine. My baby's 14. She was like, no, I will help you, but you gonna do this. And she took me in and she taught me how to be a mother. And then we had teachers like Miss Michelle Winter, who was patient with a young mother whose daughter was always tearing up stuff. There's a video of a little black girl running around Facebook who she annihilated, flipped over desks, emptied out books, cleaned off shelves, and the daddy put the video up to show what his daughter was doing. Miss Winter will tell you that was my daughter. And Miss Winter worked with me and taught me how to handle my child. And she also taught me, she acting like this, she's extremely intelligent. But yeah, I'm calling you. We have to begin to work together. This is what I'm going to do because it's 8:53. I need everybody who's anybody in a faith-based community. I don't care if you're Muslim, if you're Hindu, Buddhist, if you're Catholic, Protestant, I don't care. I need you all to come up with a plan. And when I come back next week, I want to know this plan. I want y'all to call in because I'm going to start calling some folks out. And y'all going to chase me with stones like y'all did Jesus when they try to push him off the mountain. But I'm going to start calling some people out. Because what's the point in everybody getting dressed up or going and go do your chanting and taking care of yourself and our children are not taken care of? God allows us to reproduce and bring children on this earth because children are a representation of him. And if we do not take care, it says, lo, children are the heritage of the Lord, and the fruit of the womb is his reward. God is rewarding us with children. You don't believe me? Look it up. These children running around here that we are letting fall by the wayside is God's reward, and we are spitting on his gift. I don't care if you believe in Allah. I don't care if you believe in Buddha. And Buddhist is, you can still be a Christian and be Buddhist. I don't care what your beliefs are. If you are not out here trying to get these children to a better place, as my mama and the Black Panthers used to always say, if you're not a part of the solution, you are part of the problem. I'm going to get off my soapbox, y'all, because I'm hurting. I'm mad. I want to let you all know that for a while, I might not even be answering calls. Like I said, tonight is the night 20 years ago that my dad passed away. I lost my little sister on March 30th. And right when I got the day I got over the pain from losing my little sister, my daughter calls me screaming and hollering. I can't do this. And I'm not going to allow fake and phony. Ain't nothing never been fake and phony about Lyne't. Never. But I'm going to call out every single adult. Don't come to me. Don't talk to me. Don't say nothing to me unless you're telling me what you are doing for a child that is in danger. Because they're in danger of losing their life due to stupidity, or they are in danger of losing their lives because of all the children around them doing stupid stuff. Don't come to me and talk to me about anything but what we are doing to help the children. I want to say hi to Miss Michelle Marie Haynes Winter. That's the lady who I was just telling y'all about, who helped a young mother to learn how to properly parent her child. She does her job. She's in the schools. When my daughter went to go see her to give her her graduation, high school graduation invitation, she was sitting in what they call the buddy room with a little boy. They told me at 17 that my daughter wouldn't graduate high school. She was going to be a teenage mama because I was a teenage mother. My grandmother was a teenage mother. I didn't graduate high school. My mother, it went down the line, grandmother, mother, and me. We were teenage mothers and we didn't graduate high school. They told me, statistics proved to me. She showed me the statistics and she said, your daughter's going to be a dropout and a teenage mother. And I went off on that woman and told her she wasn't. And she said, what makes you think that your child is better than any of these other kids that are in the bellies of these girls sitting in this room. I said, because she's my child. That's what makes me think that. And now that I know what you got planned for her, I'm going to shut it down. My daughter is now more educated than the woman who told me that. She is not a teenage mother. And she graduated high school and college. She's just gotten amazing things happening for her that I can't speak over the radio right now. If we change our actions, remember, children are God's gift to us. We have to go get them. And mamas, I'm going to say this again, and y'all don't have to like it. But if you think it's cute for your son to be gangbanging and throwing up signs and selling and all that, you stand in my shoes. Because my son chose to die in the Army. Your son is choosing to die in the streets. Don't ask nobody for no GoFundMe. Don't run around being on TV crying, because that's the life he chose, and you wanted him to take it. Because when my son was going that way, he caught fists, feet, and hands, and I told him he was going to be successful. He had no other choice. And I stood in classrooms and told him that, and I stood outside and I told him in front of all his friends, and I would go off and I went off on his friends, but I refused to lose my son to these streets. So if you think it's cute for your sons to be doing that, don't be on TV crying when he gets what he wanted. Because Kendrea didn't want this. She didn't live this life. Y'all have a good one. I'm out.